Guys that don't watch professional wrestling probably all make fun out of me because I cover a ton of professional wrestling on this podcast. But I'm sorry. If you are a fan of boxing, which I have not covered boxing at any point in Brandon's world, previously, when I had a previous YouTube channel before I began my career in radio, I talked a little bit about Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor in 2017. Obviously, that was huge at the time. But this, by all means, in my opinion, was a stage professional wrestling match in boxing featuring professional wrestler Logan Paul's brother Jake against a 58-year-old Iron Mike Tyson. And it was done on Netflix. Reportedly 60 million viewers watched, which to me just shows the power of Iron Mike Tyson and Mike Tyson wanting to knock out Jake Paul because Jake Paul was, alongside his brother Logan, they're great heels. I'm just gonna say it in the professional wrestling business because this, in my opinion, was an abject disaster. At least Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor was a real fight. This reminded me a little bit of Floyd Mayweather versus Logan Paul, where Floyd was on the defense the whole time, didn't really attack, let Logan Paul sort of get his shots in, and that was that. Here, I mean, you can tell Mike Tyson went for one knockout punch in the first round. And after that, he just sort of stopped punching. And for whatever reason, he kept trying to put his mouthpiece in. Jake Paul would land a punch here or there, and then would sort of step back, and Tyson would sort of lean in, deliver him a punch. Like the fight had no flow. And Tyson looked like he had no legs left. Again, I never saw Mike Tyson in his prime, but he's obviously the baddest man on the planet for a reason. There was obviously that famous shot of Netflix showing Tyson's derriere in the back. And, we know about the streaming issues that occurred on Netflix. I'm not ashamed to say it. Like I told you, last July, I had Dante Centofonte on. He told me about meth streams. I never even heard of it. Heard about the Netflix issues. Obviously, I do have Netflix as I prepare for Monday Night Raw to go there in January 2025. But I didn't want to deal with it. It was late at night when this fight started, which again, don't ask me why boxing and UFC fights start the main event at midnight Eastern, or when it comes to John Jones and Stipe Miocic at 1 a.m. Eastern. I just don't understand it. But I was in bed, I was on my phone, I just pulled up a meth stream. A lot of people watched 6.6 million, I believe, watched Antonio Brown's live stream at CT ESPN. So this was obviously a huge deal. But for those of you that are fans of boxing, that are fans of the sport, and make fun of professional wrestling, don't do so because professional wrestlers, put more on the line with their bodies going for tables and suplexes and bank bumps than these two did on Friday night. And to be honest with you, this was more staged than a professional wrestling match because this wasn't called in the ring. This was an absolute joke. This was to get Jake Paul more social media followers, even though Jake Paul was very popular. I can make an argument with Logan in WWE, with Logan's prime drink, that Logan is now more popular than his brother, obviously, with the Impulsive podcast as well. Um, I think Mike and Jake, to be honest with you, that shove, in the virtual background here for watching on YouTube, you could tell when that sort of slap happened that there was no "oh my God" reaction. Everybody was just sort of standing still, which could tell you right then from the start. Um, I never bought into this. It's why I never talked about it before. I didn't want to talk about it. The only reason why I'm talking about it is because it was more of an abject failure than I thought it was going to be. The fight was nowhere close to real. Again, you could tell Mike Tyson one punch in, boom, he tried to knock out Jake Paul. If he didn't knock Jake Paul down, then Jake Paul was going to dominate the rest of the fight, and that's what happened. To be honest with you, Jake Paul, excuse me, could have just fake fell down and pretended like he got knocked out and got right back up like a professional wrestler at the end of the fight. Um, Netflix, obviously, as I mentioned, had streaming issues. They got to get that fixed before the NFL on Christmas, which during the offseason I talked about at length. I thought was a bad idea. And obviously, have to get it fixed before Raw starts in January. So, the memes on the internet are hilarious. Let me just say that. I think the sport of boxing might be dead. Dana White and UFC took it over about 10, 15 years ago. Um, and you know what? They completely revolutionized boxing and made it pretty much boxing with takedowns and submissions and physical fight and brutal nature of it. And again, Floyd Mayweather was a star in boxing for a long time. Once he sort of left the sport never recovered. A lot of people watched Floyd and Conor McGregor. We thought it might be a comeback to the sport. Wasn't the case. I think Mike Tyson, this did no good for his public image, obviously. This was all a hoot to get Jake Paul more popularity. And that respect, it worked. But to be honest with you folks, this was a waste of time and more of a professional wrestling match than a boxing match. Like that clip from the Brand's World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brand's World podcast right here on YouTube.